Tomato.
Explaining D&D ability scores using tomatoes. There's a couple different versions out there, but the most common one goes like this.
Strength is being able to crush a tomato. Dexterity is being able to dodge it. Constitution is being able to eat a bad tomato. Intelligence is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. And charisma is being able to sell a tomato-based fruit salad. Hello, millionaires. You want to give me more money? Of course you do. Is this a cute little joke? It absolutely is. It is a very cute joke, and it has merit as just that. Now, is it a good way to actually teach the ability scores? No, not at all. It's fucking garbage trash. I understand wanting there to be a quick and easy to remember way to teach people what the ability scores are, but God, please don't dumb down these ability scores to doing one single thing with a single object inside of a single sentence. You end up pretty much explaining nothing when you have to rip away so much of what these ability scores represent to fit some unnecessary parameters. You can, and I think you should, give an explanation that's slightly longer and will be 10 times more accurate. Ability scores are pretty broad in how they can be applied, some more so than others, and occasionally they cover some pretty abstract things. It's not very easy to get across what all they do with a few pithy remarks. I feel like all of these tomato sentences fall so short of encompassing what ability scores do, while none of them even end up capturing how they're actually used in the game. How in the fuck is it better to say that charisma is being able to sell a tomato-based fruit salad than just straight up saying charisma is your social skills? Even that as a sentence I feel falls short, but at the very least it's more comprehensive and even more concise than being able to sell a tomato fruit salad. Well, actually, that's just No, it isn't. We all know salsa is nothing like a fruit salad. They're not even meant to be used the same way. Salsa is a dip or a condiment, a topping. Fruit salad's just a bunch of cut up fruit that you eat. It's not clever. The tomato explanation uses this unlikely scenario to get across one aspect of what charisma represents, and that is an issue with every single one of the examples for each ability score. I feel like these tomatoes are far more likely to just confuse somebody, as it gives them a way too narrow view of what abilities are supposed to do. I think when you're explaining these stats, you should try to relate them to how they're commonly used in the game. Charisma mostly encapsulates how we interact with other people, so its explanation should be built around interacting with other people, not around some goddamn food! Hey there. I just want to pull you over to the side to say that there's never only one way to learn things. So if you learn stuff better with devices like the tomato explanation, that's totally valid. I see you, and I understand that. It's a fully subjective matter. You aren't doing something wrong if this kind of device works for you. This is a petty, pedantic little rant that does not need to happen. But I'm fucking doing it anyway! To be clear, I get that selling something to somebody is technically an example that includes interacting with people. But I feel like this explanation for charisma focuses way more on the funny joke of tomato fruit salad than it does the social aspect. The primary focus is on the tomato. That's the idea that the entire sentence was built around. The actual human interaction taking place is very much just alluded to while it's in the back seat. On top of that, trying to sell things that don't currently have a market is not exactly at the top of my list for things charisma gets used for. Hell, even just when it comes to interacting with merchants, we all know players are way more likely to roll persuasion to try to haggle for a discount they don't even need. Enough badgering on charisma. I don't want you to think that's the only one I have an issue with. I alluded that all of the examples have problems, so let's just start getting into them. Saying strength is your ability to crush a tomato is almost worse than saying strength is strength. Honestly, I think it might be worse, because you don't really need strength to crush a tomato. It's really fucking easy. And that brings me to another giant pet peeve I have with this thing. Why did they word it as being able to crush, dodge, or whatever a tomato? Why being able? The wording makes it sound like D&D uses some kind of weird pass-fail system where you either just do or don't have the ability to do something. But that's not how this works. Being able to crush a tomato? That's everyone. You just described everyone. Buddy, I don't care what your strength score is. Your character can crush a fucking tomato. Ability scores are used to modify rolls for things you can possibly do, not just for things you can do. If you have a DM that makes you roll to crush a tomato, Just fucking leave that. Just leave that table. That is not your friend. Why not how easily? How likely? No, being able. Who made that design choice? Intelligence and wisdom are written to go together like a little cute pair. Isn't that adorable? I love it so much. Even if the wisdom example has fucking nothing to do with the weird amalgam and abstract stat that is wisdom. You know, so kind of makes it feel like it wasn't even written for D&D 5e, which it fucking wasn't. It's a quote commonly attributed to author Miles Kington, a man who died before the edition was even made. Now, to be fair, I cannot find a citation, and I have tried. I cannot find a citation for exactly where he said this. I guess I didn't dig very hard the first time I was researching this, because while I was editing this part of the video, I pretty easily found a citation in an independent article Miles wrote, while discussing the post office releasing new stamps, which, by the way, is the most adorable old man thing I've ever read. He attributes the quote to himself, which seems to imply the quote had already been going around at this point, and this article was written back in 2003. Now, I have also not been able to find a citation for when and where the tomato explanation for D&D originated. I've heard rumor it's from before 5th edition, but given the information I can find, I still highly doubt this started from D&D. One good reason being that all of the older sources I stumble across don't use the exact same wording as the tomato explanation does. Such as in this very article, where Miles writes, "Who was it who once said that knowledge consists of knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom consists of not putting it in a fruit salad?" Well, it was me, actually. Thank you. Anyways, my main point still stands. We can get back to the video. The quote works super well for real life. It's basically saying it's one thing to know some facts, and it's another thing to know how to apply them. But that's not how either of these abilities are used. That's not what they're supposed to be for. Intelligence is about knowing facts, though, I hear you cry out. You yell, recalling information. It's right there in the book. And yes, that is true. Intelligence can be about recalling information, knowing some facts, but it's also about logic and deductive reasoning. It can also be about how you apply the things you know, too. These explanations just do not work for D&D, but people saw this quote elsewhere, liked it, and decided to just cram it into D&D and just started pretending that it fit, even though it very, very clearly is not fitting. Remember, if you like the tomato explanation, that's totally fair. There's really nothing to argue with here. I'm a sarcastic little shit who puts way too much emphasis on things that truly don't matter. And this whole video doesn't matter. Nobody needs to hear this. Nobody needs to watch this. These tomatoes are not hurting anyone. And if you teach somebody how to play the game this way, that they're better off without you as a friend because you clearly don't have their best interest in mind, do you? Whore. I just don't see how this method is any better than just reading the ability descriptions straight from the player's handbook. Actually, let's do that real quick. Strength measures bodily power, athletic training, and the extent to which you can exert raw physical force. A strength check can model any attempt to lift, push, pull, or break something, to force your body through space, or to otherwise apply brute force to a situation. Dexterity measures agility, reflexes, and balance. A dexterity check can model any attempt to move nimbly, quickly, or quietly, or to keep from falling on tricky footing. Constitution measures health, stamina, and vital force. Constitution checks are uncommon, and no skills apply to Constitution checks, because the endurance this ability represents is largely passive, rather than involving a specific effort on the part of a character or monster. A Constitution check can model your attempt to push beyond normal limits, however. Intelligence measures mental acuity, accuracy of recall, and the ability to reason. An intelligence check comes into play when you need to draw on logic, education, memory, or deductive reasoning. Wisdom reflects how attuned you are to the world around you, and represents perceptiveness and intuition. A wisdom check might reflect an effort to read body language, understand someone's feelings, notice things about the environment, or care for an injured person. Charisma measures your ability to interact effectively with others. It includes such factors as confidence and eloquence, and it can represent a charming or commanding personality. A charisma check might arise when you try to influence or entertain others, when you try and make an impression or tell a convincing lie, or when you're navigating a tricky social situation. And that is straight from the Player's Handbook, a thing that I bought. While those descriptions might not be perfect, they're damn good ones. About as good as I think you can expect from a book that's supposed to be up to interpretation, and also gets played in a ton of different ways. Yeah, that does take longer than the tomato explanation to say all of that, but it only takes like a minute or two. And I think a minute or two explanation is important for something that's such a core mechanic to the game. The ability scores are the basis for everything that characters do. I don't think they should be diluted into one sentence apiece. Maybe you use the tomato explanation as more of a precursor to a full conversation. It's not just you hand them the meme and then you dip out, but it's more of just one of the many tools on your tool belt. I think that that is a valid thing to do. It's your table. Teach things the way you think your friends will learn the game best. I also think you're wasting everyone's time. I do not understand why you would want to use these tomatoes if you're just going to go into a full explanation anyways. Just skip the tomatoes and get to the explanation. How is this helpful? How does this aid the explanation and do anything more than just get in the way and waste everybody's fucking time? An incredibly small amount of time. A negligible amount of time that's totally worth using on tomato talk if you think it'll help. So why don't you quit wasting my damn time? I get to play like once every 2 months because scheduling with groups is so fucking hard as an adult, so don't waste my time with your bullshit! I want that precious minute back so bad, because what the hell are these teaching people? But learning methods are subjective, and just because I don't personally get it, means it's fucking useless and everyone should stop. Dexterity is being able to dodge a tomato. Oh, tomato! Oh, tomato! Oh, tomato! Fuck.